These are the stories topping the news. The security of the CBI program remains a government priority. A prominent Belizean lawmaker resigns, and chaos fills Ferguson, Missouri after a controversial grand jury decision. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, November 25th. I'm Ebony Brandon. Now for a look at the news developments in detail. Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Patrice Nisbet, has said that the Citizenship by Investment program continues to deliver great benefits to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Despite opposition concerns over the security of the program, Minister Nisbet confirmed that the government is committed to ensuring that the program works efficiently and that the program is secure.
And the government will always seek ways to strengthen the security features of the St. Kitts and Nevis passport. This type of vigilance is important today, and it will be equally important 20 years from now. In light of this, I wish to share with you some of the more recent measures that the government has put in place where our passports are concerned. 1. Effective February 2014, any previous name of any St. Kitts and Nevis passport holder have been listed on the passport's observation page. 2. Effective July 2014, the place of birth of all St. Kitts and Nevis passport holders has been printed in the passport as opposed to being accessible only electronically. Thirdly, new St. Kitts and Nevis passports are being issued to replace any passport in existence which do not indicate place of birth.
In other news, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Homeland Security, Labor and Immigration, Honorable Patrice Nisbet, has said his appointment to the federal cabinet has given him the opportunity to provide the strategic leadership required to implement policies to transform the federation for the benefit of every citizen and resident. Speaking at the recent Conversations for Progress meeting at the Brownhill Basketball Court in Nevis, Minister Nisbet told the large gathering that he embraced his responsibilities seriously and his efforts had yielded results.
Every policy initiative of the government which remained unimplemented by 2 ministers before my tenure has been considerably success. When evaluating using any measure, even my fiercest critic will no doubt applaud, albeit grudgingly, my efforts.
Minister Nisbet said he has completed the Foreign Affairs Policy document, which takes into account shifts into the geopolitical environment and the need to better the position of the Federation to pursue opportunities intended to increase trade, economic development and employment. Last week's training of soldiers at the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force camp was just one example of the ongoing partnership between the local Defence Force and the Florida National Guard. Recently, the force's Public Affairs Officer, Captain Coyote Sutton, highlighted other examples of that partnership.
It's an ongoing partnership. It days back a number of years. We've actually had members of the Florida National Guard, the band, come to play at our Independence Parade before.
Wow.
Okay, so they had, the exchange goes beyond just military training. It goes deep, even into music. They played with our band and, they perform well.
In regional developments, Joseph Mohammed, member of Belize's House of Representatives for the KO North constituency, has tendered his resignation. The news was announced by Belize's government on Monday afternoon. Mohammed, a member of the opposition People's United Party, advised the office of the clerk that his resignation would take immediate effect, and Speaker of the House, Michael Prefet, has accepted his resignation. The move was reportedly made because Mohammed will not be seeking re-election. The Association of Insurance Institutes of the Caribbean held its 17th annual conference in St. Lucia last week to focus on legislation that will harmonize the regulation of insurance in the Eastern Caribbean Central Union. The 3-day conference took place at the Royal St. Lucian Hotel and was sponsored by the EC Global Insurance. Kendall Burton has the details.
According to the conference chairperson Ruth Lake, AIIC is an association of insurance institutes across the Caribbean region responsible for the educational aspect of the insurance industry. For its 25th anniversary, the association selected St. Lucia to hold its annual 3-day conference with representatives from a total of 8 institutes participating this year. While the main focus of the conference was to agree on legislation that will govern the running of insurance companies in the ECCU, Lake notes that some of the subjects covered throughout the conference include assessment of damages, preparing for court cases, and effectively dealing with insurance claims.
Everybody says insurance companies do not pay claims, etc., etc. The insurance industry knows that that is not true. We are aware of the fact that it is a very small percentage of claims that don't get paid for one reason or other. But that is the percentage you hear about on the street. And what we did was to bring people together to explain to them how they should deal with their clients. One, the fact that they need to understand the client and their point of view, etc., etc. And also, if it is that they're not going to pay a claim, that they explain that to the client upfront.
EC Global Insurance was a gold sponsor of the conference this year. According to agency manager Anne-Marie Herman, EC Global and the wider ECFH group have always embraced education in all fields, especially where it helps to better the service and products the company provides.
In international developments, protesters blocked highways in Ferguson, Missouri after a grand jury decision decided not to indict police officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of an unarmed teen, Michael Brown. We hear more in this report.
Ferguson, Missouri erupts in a wave of violence as a grand jury reaches a decision about the police officer who shot Michael Brown. Stores were looted, others were set on fire, and crowds confronted police.
I know that there's at least a dozen buildings that have been set on fire. Most of those are total losses. I know that I have 2 St. Louis County police cars that are basically melted.
The violence comes after a grand jury decided not to indict Darren Wilson, a white police officer, for firing the shots that killed Brown, an unarmed black 18-year-old.
They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
Wilson fatally shot Brown in August. The 9 white and 3 black members of the grand jury deliberated for 3 months. Mountains of evidence handed over for consideration. These evidence photos were released Monday of Officer Wilson after the shooting, showing bruising on his face. Other photos show blood inside Wilson's police cruiser. More possible evidence that there may have been a struggle between Officer Wilson and the 18-year-old.
The physical and scientific evidence examined by the grand jury, combined with the witness statements supported and substantiated by that physical evidence, tells the accurate and tragic story of what happened.
Angry crowds poured into the streets within minutes of the news. Police used tear gas to try to disperse the protesters. Protesters shut down at least 1 St. Louis highway, and the FAA diverted at least 10 flights because of concerns about gunfire aimed into the sky.
We've had a lot of incidents with officers being hit by rocks, batteries, different things like that, and I can tell you that I personally heard about 150 shots fired.
Meanwhile, the Department of Justice is conducting an investigation into possible civil rights violations that could result in federal civil rights charges against Officer Wilson. Salima Saeed, The Associated Press.
An outbreak of bubonic plague in Madagascar has left 40 dead in less than 3 months, according to the World Health Organization. We hear more in this report.
Bacterial disease has killed at least 40 people out of nearly 120 confirmed cases since last August, including 2 in the capital city. The Prime Minister of Madagascar, Kolo Christophe Roger, said on Monday that measures to prevent further infections were being launched.
The WHO report was done with the consent of the government, as is the norm, and it is very necessary. Every case of this disease has been confirmed and declared as required by the WHO, and hence this is considered an epidemic.
No trade or travel restrictions for Madagascar have so far been recommended. According to the WHO, the last previously known outbreak of this form of bubonic plague appeared in Peru in 2010.
In the weather, skies today will be partly cloudy. Temperatures are expected to reach a high of 30 degrees with a low this evening of 24 degrees. Winds will blow from the east at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Tonight is also expected to be cloudy with winds blowing from the east-northeast. That ends the ZIZ Midday newscast for this hour. Join us this evening at 6:30 p.m. on 96.1 FM and right here on Channel 5 at 7 for these stories and more in detail. I'm Ebony Brandon. Good afternoon.